So good evening, everybody. You're welcome to this week's Forex forecast brought to you by Trading Pro for the 29th of July to the 2nd of August. Trading Pro is an international multi-service financial service provider, and they offer a variety of educational tools, one of which is this weekly forecast to enable its clients to develop their knowledge and abilities to take effective opportunities in the market once they present itself. Trading Pro has won lots of international awards, as you can see, at the just concluded Forex Trader Summit. They won Best Forex Spreads Global in Cyprus. So without taking so much of your time, let's get down to what the charts have for us. So going into next week, it's going to be very, as you can see, lots of economic news coming out next week, starting from Tuesday to Wednesday, where we have the BOJ's rate policy. Then we have non-farm employment change by 115. Then by 7, we have FOMC rate statements. Then on Thursday, we have the Bank of England's monetary policy statement. That's their rate statement. Then on Friday, we have non-farm payroll and unemployment rate. So it's going to be very interesting week coming up next week. So without taking so much of your time, let's get down to what the charts have for us. So as always, we're going to start off with the EURGBP, US 100, dollar index, Euro USD, GBP USD, gold, pound yen, and euro yen. So starting off with the EURGBP, for now, if we look at this pair, let's look at this pair from several time frames. If we look at this pair from several time frames, we can see that on the weekly, this pair is bearish. On the weekly, it's bearish. We have a close below 88.98, 83.98. We have a break and close below, but price rejected from that level and is currently within this fair value gap here. If we drop down to the daily time frame, the daily, we have this big engulfing that closed this high. So going into next week and with the rate statement coming in for the pound on Thursday, we might see euro strength going into next week. The possibility is that this may retrace into 84.32 to 83.89. We might see a retracement into this area and a continuation to probably sweep these equal highs going into next week. So for euro, we might see early strength going into weakness, probably Monday, Tuesday, because this fair value gap here is where price is. You don't want to take a long opportunity. So it might retrace into any of these fair value gaps before a continuation to the upside. That is short term, as this pair long term is still very bullish. So next we're going to be looking at is the US 100. The US 100 long term is bearish. If we look at it from the weekly, long term is bearish. This is the second bearish candle on the weekly, but it's sitting within this bullish order block on the weekly also. So that points to the fact that we might be seeing a bit of a bounce going into this week to test, to probably filling this fair value gap here. We might be seeing a bit of a bounce. So if we go into the 4-hour time frame, we don't have a break yet because the 4-hour is within this range candle here. There's a master candle here. Pull back my annotation. There's a master candle high, master candle low. So price needs to break out of this before we have a solid directional bias. If price does not do it, then we might just continue in the consolidation. So that's what we have on this pair for now. This pair long term is bearish, but we might see a bit of a retracement to the upside before a continuation to the downside. So we need to see what price would do, whether it would spike the high of this master candle, get rejected and move back down to probably do this range down. What do I mean? If it breaks to the downs, if it doesn't break to the upside, then the possibility exists that you might see price do this same range to the downside. That's price might do 18,226.5 to the downside if it breaks to the downside, as this is still bearish. The next way we're going to be looking at is the dollar index. The dollar index has been a bit of a challenge. We had a false break below 103.88. As you can see, price swept it and closed back inside with a long lower wick. But there was no continuation with momentum. If we go down to the daily, we can basically see that it's been like in a range. So going into next week, the possibility exists that this may sweep these lows and move up, probably to fill in this 4-hour fair value gap and probably come up to this area. So it may sweep the lows first, then move up. It depends on what they do on Monday. As you know, there's basically no news on Monday. And if you look at this closely on the 4-hour, you have a range here. So we have a range here on the 4-hour. So we just can't say until price breaks to either side before we have a directional buyer. So we have a dealing range high on the 4-hour at 104.45 and a dealing range low also on the 4-hour at 104.16. So this is what we have on price. Until price breaks out in any of these directions before we have a general buyer. But it is more likely it might try to move up to fill in this as we have a false break to the downside. So the next way we're going to be looking at is EURUSD. Looking at the EURUSD from the weekly perspective, it's within we have a bearish close on the weekly, but it didn't close below this 4-hour daily weekly fair value gap. If we go back into the weekly daily, if you notice, price is within this box here, and that's a fair value gap. Price is just within that range on the daily. If we move down to the 4-hour time frame, you can see that price is just basically in a range. So the possibility exists that this may try to rally up here into this box. If it gets rejected, then we might see lower prices, depending on what the dollar index does. If the dollar index decides to move down first, this is going to move up into this area. If the dollar index decides to move up first, then this is going to move down. So that's what we have going into next week. So the possibility is that this may still move lower before any other move. So the next we are going to be looking at is the GBPUSD. The GBPUSD is slightly moving on the downside. Short term, it's bearish. But if you look at it on the higher time frame, that's the weekly and daily, it has a bullish kind of note. It has a bullish note. We have a break above this side. So what we're probably looking at is a retracement back into this range before a continuation to the upside. So if we look at this on the 4-hour time frame, see that price is sitting above this other block on the daily and comfortably sitting above this bullish fair value gap. We have what looks like equal lows here. If we go into the 4-hour time frame, you can see that price is making new lows, not new highs. So most probably this might retrace into 28.77 to 29.37. If it gets rejected within this range, we might see price move lower. And if you observe, price is within a master candle on the 4-hour. That's this the high. The high is at 28.90 and the low is at 28.49. So that's where price is for now. Price is within this area for now on the GBPUSD. So until either price rejects from the high or breaks above. So we wait to see what price does. But for now, on the 4-hour, this pair is still bearish, which points to the fact that we might still see lower prices on this pair. Then the next pair we're going to be looking at is gold. Gold bearish long term, but we might be seeing a little bit of a retracement short term into this 23.83 to 24.32. That's where we might be seeing price retrace probably into. If we go into the daily time frame, Let's look at this from the 1 hour time frame. We can see that price is already retracing. So we'll be watching this area first and 23.83 to 24.32. So that's where you're watching price to retrace, bearish evidence, and a continuation to the downside. As long term, this pair is still bearish. So as long as price stays before 24.32, price is going to still move to the downside. The next pair we're going to be looking at is the GBP yen. That's a pound yen. Long term, this pair is still bullish. What we are is in a retracement. And you can see that retracement has brought price into this other block on the weekly. We drop down to the daily time frame. We can see that this low price did not close below it. So that points to the possibility that we might see a bit of a retracement if we go into the daily time, into the 4-hour time frame. This low price has swept it. So we might see a bit of a move down and a continuation to the upside. Because if you look at this on the 1-hour time frame, we have a close above 198.80. So this might just be a retracement into this area for a continuation back to the upside on price. So that's what we most likely will be looking at next week. A down move, then a move higher, as we have the Bank of Japan's rate news coming out on Wednesday. And if it's not going to be anything positive for the yen, this might probably continue its up move. So the last but not the least is the euro yen. The euro yen, same view as the pound yen. If we look at it on the weekly time frame, you can see this is a retracement into this other block here. If we go down to the daily time frame, we have a close below 167.52. So this might retrace a bit before if it will continue to the downside. But we have rate news on the yen coming up on Wednesday. So this, it has removed this other block, this down close candle here. It has removed it. So most likely we might just see a move into this fair value gap here and a move back into 69.99 to 171.87. That's what we have for next week. So that settles it. Is there anybody who want me to look at before we call it a night? You can type it into the chat box. Anybody who want me to look at? If there is none, then we can call it a night. You could watch the review. The links will be posted, but you could go watch it on Trading Pro Nigeria. That's the YouTube channel. You could go watch it there, and other educational videos posted there. As you can see, we have 17 educational videos posted on the YouTube channel. Somebody saying BTC. Let me look at BTC. BTC start from the daily. Let's look at it. Well, let me look at it from the weekly. If we look at this pair, let me see. We have notations on this pair. Nope. Yes, I think I have done analysis on this pair before. I pointed out this low and this area here. That's where price is. If you notice, when price ran into that area the first time, there was a massive drop there. There was a massive drop and price is coming back into that area. If price cannot clear 67.80, this 67.7, this level here, this level here, 67.70, 67.796. If price cannot clear it, this is going to move lower. I wouldn't be buying this now. It wouldn't be a good idea to buy this now. Let's look at it on the 4-hour time frame. It wouldn't be a good idea to be buying it now, because most likely this might just sweep this area and move back to the downside. So if you want to buy, you would wait for price to come into this box here. That's 68.29.3 to 63.47 short term, because long term, this might still move lower. This is still going to move lower. If it cannot clear this area, it's going to move down. So I thank you everybody for taking your time to attend. I wish everybody a blessed and lovely weekend and a lovely trading week. Don't forget, we have lots of high impact news coming up next week. To be on the safe side, you either reduce your lot sizes or you switch to your demo account. So good night.